So recently I've become aware of this massive issue of mine where someone will recommend me a seasonal anime and the interaction will usually end with me saying something like, "That sounds pretty cool, I'll be sure to put it on my watch list." So as someone who used to consume anime 24/7, I've become increasingly frustrated with this response. But today is different. Today I challenge myself to not only watch an unhealthy amount of seasonal anime, but I will be talking about all of them, and testing my ability to upload one of these dumb little videos on time. My thoughts range from this is good, to really weird, to really good, to pulling my phone out and writing bullet notes like this. So to make my incredibly shallow and incohesive ramblings easy to follow, everything I watch will be ranked on this very sexy, very cool 3D tier list bulletin board, with the first anime being about some silly fucking spirals. This is a story about how a normal town like Kurozu is cursed for eternity. Imagine you're walking home from school with your partner. Impossible, but just go with it. While you're walking, you notice that every stream you pass has whirlpools. The winds are kicking up into whirlwinds, and your dad has started to become obsessed with spirals. You ask your girl if they've also been noticing these strange events and suggest leaving, but she laughs it off. Which you can understand, you probably sound fucking crazy. Except it gets to the point where you notice that a scar on someone's forehead starts to slowly resemble a spiral more and more every time you see them. And then finally, your dad dies after shoving himself in a wooden barrel following a spiraling pattern. You tell your girl this to hopefully convince her that there's something seriously wrong, but the reality is that your dad showed her what that tongue could do, and it still wasn't enough to convince her that there is something seriously fucked up going on and they need to leave. Even after seeing her friend's scar completely consume her eyeball, her face, another person, and then her entire body within the span of 10 minutes, she has the audacity to give a monologue about how it's only the beginning of all the horrors that this town is about to experience.
What we hadn't realized yet was that all the horrors we faced was just the beginning of our descent into the spiral.
Is that like not your cue to just fucking leave this town?
Bro, I would literally... I don't know why they're still there.
If she isn't convinced to leave at this point, just leave this bitch! Leave her! This anime is a fucking roller coaster and is probably the best example of draw the rest of the horse, because that first episode was both well animated and interesting. Oh my god. Oh my god!
Just wear gloves.
What the fuck? While the rest of it just showed its animation falling off a cliff alongside a bunch of what the fuck moments and laughing hysterically.
What?
Wait. Was his hands even connecting to him?
Yo. Yeah, I'm leaving him.
I'm just going. Fuck that. What the fuck?
What the fuck is that?
Hey, where are you running to? I'll have this house extension done by the time.
Oh shit.
What a falling
That's actually
PNG!
it's just a PNG.
Why is it all like that? What the fuck?
Do not watch this anime alone because you will be sorely disappointed after the first episode. But I do recommend you watch this anime with friends because then you might actually have fun watching it as well as becoming hyper aware of spirals. For a good 10 minutes.
See.
I am so happy that this was the only isekai I came across. It's about this loner who gets isekai'd alongside his classmates. Everyone who is transported is given the opportunity to select stat points from a shared finite pool of points between the class. This guy doesn't fucking select shit, so he ends up getting 0 stat points across the board and is automatically given every single antisocial adjective as perks. He is then plopped into the isekai forest with the isekai goblins, who all could have been drawn by me, the isekai mushrooms, and random fucking starter loot. Then he gets an opportunity to max out on all of his stats, which is great. You know, he can actually start portraying himself as a competent... He maxed out on fucking luck! After this point, this guy just starts pulling out some of the most convenient skills to the point where he's able to turn his little man cave into a fucking modern day apartment in the span of 5 minutes.
He has a kitchen. He has, was that juice?
Yeah, I don't know where he spawned in this shit.
I know this show is like the blueprint to any modern isekai, but this had to have gotten some amount of popularity to get an anime. So I'm just wondering, who and why did anyone actually care to watch some loner get transported into another world to still be a fucking loner there? I could dig Helen Keller up right now, tell her to look at this shit, and she could still tell you it's fucking dog shit. When looking at this poster, the first thing that came to mind was that this is going to be some reverse isekai for a demon lord. It's not. So this demon lord is killed by a past era's hero, but he's basically guaranteed to come back to life after a certain number of years. Only this time, while he was in his little coma, a few worlds collided here and there, causing wars, a peace treaty, and then the rapid advancement of civilization combining magic and technology. So instead of being able to jump straight back into world domination, he has to get a grasp of the new era he's come back to. Oh my fucking god. There's a VTuber.
Dude, which VTuber is that?
What the fuck? So yeah, this new era is crazy. It's got VTubers just casually on Jumbotrons. Capitalism is at an all-time high. Immortals are being hunted. Cities forbid the use of certain magics, and technology was advanced to a stage that allows everyone to use magic that rivals the demon lord. So much so that this guy just starts getting humbled by his traitorous subordinate all the way to regular ass thugs. I kinda like this. The concept is cool, but certain moments like walking into a tiny apartment thinking it was going to be a castle just feel so reminiscent of another massively disappointing demon lord anime. DanDaDan. Do I really have to say it again? No, I don't, but I'm going to. DanDaDan! Watch fucking DanDaDan! Yup, it's so perfect. It's fucking perfect. If you're new here, then all you need to know is that DanDaDan is quite literally the rock of this channel. So naturally, it's just going to get brownie points. I don't make the rules. That's just how shit works. But seriously, I was genuinely grinning from ear to ear seeing how good the opening, ending, and episodes of DanDaDan have turned out. In its entirety, I don't think it could have been done any better. If anything, it did its job too well, because I did not realize how uncomfortable and weird I was actually going to feel seeing this scene animated. Besides that though, I think most of the joy I felt with the anime has been from watching people discover DanDaDan in real time and go ballistic for it in the same way I did when I was first reading it. I mean, seeing how everyone's falling in love with DanDaDan for different reasons, whether it be the comedy, action, opening, or the fact that it has real romance in an action-heavy series, it's literally insane, and I actually can't help myself but smile while talking about it. But as much as I'd love to talk about the DanDaDan anime itself, I feel if I talk about it more, I'll just end up repeating myself because I pretty much said all that I wanted to in that DanDaDan video. So instead, just because it feels right and deserves it for being a staple on this channel, let's see what's been going on with that Pandora's box of a manga, because oh my god, I need to talk about this ridiculous fucking manga. Obviously, there will be spoilers, but if you know anything about DanDaDan, then you know that you can't truly have it spoiled to you. Still though, I'll give you a heads up to move on to the next segment if you want to refrain. For those of you still here, let's start off with the least mind-blowing thing since I last talked about it. This cute little costume and this house. becomes a kaiju and a fucking Gundam that fight each other using the Sky Tree and Tokyo Tower as swords. Then an entire galaxy of aliens arrive to steal Okarun's nutsack, who are then eviscerated by this ghost. That's then followed up with an arc revolving around our characters defending a song-powered house on wheels from a battalion of acrobatic sumo wrestling lumberjacks and a giant made up of multiple apartment complexes. Did you follow all that? Okay, good, because I'm not fucking finished. The next arc is then set up inside a Jumanji D&D Warhammer 40,000 type tabletop game, where Momo and this cool umbrella guy eventually command a fucking army against... I bit my tongue. Against dragons and saber-toothed elephants. After that, a new ghost appears whose ability is to create devastating supersonic waves with an umbrella. Then, a fucking cop pulls up. It's literally just a regular cop who made me cry. And then I was literally kicking my feet and screaming like a little girl. But then finally, after over 160 chapters, the heartbeat that was missing throughout the entire story now exists because of the introduction of none other than Count Saint fucking Germain. And if you don't know who this guy was, because I certainly didn't know who he was, I just looked at his name and thought the motherfucker was real and looked him up. His real life historical figure is such an enigma, people aren't even entirely sure what the hell this guy was even about, as he was said to be an all-knowing, multi-talented, immortal genius. Scratch immortal, I guess. This guy's such a fucking mystery that he's even compared to Jesus Christ in a sense where nobody's actually able to prove if he was or wasn't capable of performing these supernatural miracles. And if you ask me, that is one of the most fitting characters to throw into a story like DanDaDan. At this point, I am 100% convinced that Yuki Nobutatsu is just writing the sequel to the fucking Bible right before our eyes. I mean, the fucking earth had a pair of balls not too long ago. That was not written into the story, but I would not be surprised if that was written into the story. That's why I said it. I didn't watch The Eminence in Shadow, but this anime is basically what I imagined it was like. It's like the ultimate gaslighter.
No, nothing like this.
Apparently I was wrong, but that's besides the point. This anime is about a guy who leads a party of the strongest heroes in the world. Everyone reveres them and they're treated like gods. But it wasn't always like that. Early on in the party's adventure, he wanted to leave because he fucking sucked shit compared to them. But they didn't let him quit because he was really good at motivational speeches or some shit like that. Now, through sheer luck, coincidence, and pity, everyone thinks he's the strongest motherfucker around despite trying to retire at every chance he gets. This anime is awful. Why am I watching this? What the fuck?
You just got you just got faked out, bro, so hard.
Now it's fucking personal. Who the fuck makes their opening like that? I tried to really give this anime a shot until this part where some of the characters are fighting a boss, and after they beat it, 4 more of the same boss that they just barely beat pull up with different weapons. He's got a fucking machine gun.
They're literally just gonna be running left and right, and the bullets are gonna be going right behind where they're running. Is this minigun ever gonna be used?
It literally doesn't get used. The fucking minigun doesn't fire a single time, and then this guy pulls up with every single magical artifact he could carry, only to barely bail them out. The joke's on me for watching as many episodes of this as I did. This anime is like the Japanese prototype to the Transformers storyline. Hikaru is a normal kid who becomes anything but that when a pleading cube he finds in a blocked off alleyway turns into a mechanical arm after fusing with his hoodie. This sentient appendage is called a Mecha-Ude named Alma, and the thing with it is that he's both an amnesiac and anemic if he isn't within a few feet from Hikaru. Unrelated to these medical conditions, he's special, and we know this because about every single person with a Mecha-Ude is hell-bent on trying to capture him. This anime is conflicting in a number of ways because on one hand, the concept is interesting. It can look absolutely beautiful. The CGI is actually good and the fights can be badass as fuck. But on the other hand, it can be really dumb. I mean, like, really dumb. Like, there's a part where early in the episode, Hikaru is explaining how noise-canceling earbuds work to Alma. And then later on, we get caught up in a fight against a loser with a Mecha-Ude that uses sound waves to disorient their target. You know where I'm going with this. Oh my god, he's hiding his ears.
Oh my
Oh no, he's covering his
God.
ears. He's gonna be covering his ears.
Oh my god.
fucking god.
I would have maybe understood if it was actual military grade headphones, but you expect me to believe that a cyber alien designed to shoot supersonic waves was bested by a pair of skull candies? Then you're about 10 years too late, because 10-year-old me would have thought this man was a fucking genius. There's a lot of qualities this show offers that makes me want to like it, but equally, there's something that keeps me from fully enjoying it. 500 years ago, humans believed the universe moved like a kaleidoscope, perfectly uniformed and synchronized around the Earth that sat at the very center of it all. But if you believed otherwise, studied otherwise, attempted to observe otherwise, you will be tortured, imprisoned, and fucking burned as a heretic for defying God and the Church. Rafal isn't one of the mentally deranged. Saved from poverty and now going into university at the age of 12 to study theology, this kid is a prodigy, and everyone treats him as such, with the only problem being that he needs to stop his fascination with the stars that hang above him every night, which initially he was okay with, until he meets one of these former heretics who got released from prison after rebuking his past actions. He's decrepit, scarred beyond recognition, and even partly blind. He now also has a knife to the child's throat and blackmails Rafal to observe the stars for him, or else he'll fucking kill him. And so Rafal does what's asked of him, not because he fears for his life, because he entirely acknowledges he can report the criminal to authorities, but because curiosity is a fucking drug, dude. Curiosity can get you killed. Curiosity led to Rafal realizing that geocentrism is some lame ass bullshit. Still, he doesn't become convinced. I mean, Earth moving instead of everything else around it? What is this outrageous notion? Oh my god, this fucker just had his Isaac Newton moment. Great animation. Opening is just banger. Incredible concept. I like it a lot. Next! In my 20 years of life, I have never caught a fish. I've even gone to places where it's a pond full of them. Fish you can literally see swimming everywhere, specifically designed for 7-year-olds or dirt-ranking fishers like me to feel the joy of hooking a fish. Pain, struggle, and sadness. That's all those places ever gave me. This has gone so out of hand in my life that I've literally written down, catch a fucking fish on my bucket list notes. I genuinely yearn for the day I can post up with some friends at a lake and actually catch a fish. So my solution to this issue of mine: fishing anime. This motherfucker skedaddled.
He is skedaddling. No. Is he getting isekai or some shit?
This is the best view ever to go fishing.
Reflections in the water are actually like...
Spotify looking at the city fishing. This is actually so chill.
Is this guy Jesus? Can someone explain to me why this is actually really chill? I'm watching a guy who wanted to hang it up find joy in his remaining 2 years of life through fishing with a group of the most inclusive caricatures I have ever seen.
You're looking Aaron Yeager, bro. What? Okay.
And that's literally all it is. Just straight vibes, fishing, and friends for whatever remaining amount of life our main characters got. I'm saying this with all seriousness. I actually like this anime. Have I officially lost it? Has not catching a fish really pushed me to such a degree where a fishing anime is so appealing to me? Maybe, but I genuinely felt this anime had a unique charm to it that I feel most slice-of-life anime don't have. Very cool, very chill anime that has resurfaced my desire to catch a fish. So you guys know Uzumaki from JJK?
Get crushed!
This guy is basically him, except no limitations, looks like a femboy, and has a fucking Glock. It's about how he got assigned the talker class, which is known as the weakest among them, but because he's the grandson of one of the strongest adventurers ever, he has this dream of being on the same level as his grandpa. So a lot of it is just watching him being super calculating, using his allies, getting betrayed, and working from the ground up to become the most notorious talker running the world's greatest clan. There's nothing actually bad about this show. For me, it just really felt like it was one of those stereotypical anime you'd see once or twice a year. So apart from this individual and their characteristics, this is probably the most complete example of what I think the most anime ever is. Whatever that means. So this super strong dragon gets killed by some people and then reincarnates as a super talented normal guy who ends up collecting a harem of monster girls. There's boobs, a goth girl, a strong main character, and actually decent animation that Blue Lock fans would probably kill kittens for. But all in all, I have a complete lack of care for this stupid harem anime. There's two reasons for why I think this anime is really good. The first reason stems from my love for sports. For almost 15 of my 20 years of life, I played sports religiously. Whether it was competitively in sports like hockey, track, football, and American football, or casually with sports like badminton, volleyball, basketball, and lacrosse, in general, I was always interested in playing them or trying new sports. But when it comes to sports anime, it feels much different. I still find enjoyment in watching sports anime like Haikyuu or Blue Lock, but it's not even because of the sport. It's because sports anime are often the most unserious, unhinged, borderline superpower-based representations of the actual sport. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's literally why people hate sports in the real world but love watching sports anime. But for Blue Box, the sports were never blown out of proportion. They were grounded and felt like they were being played by high schoolers. Down to the emotions, thought process, and progress, it hits home and is reminiscent of when I was either watching the matches or playing myself. The second reason is how they approach the romance. Now, I'll be honest, trying to talk about romance is pretty hard. It's difficult to convey in an entertaining, conversative way without it coming off as some super corny sap. Anyways, if you know me, I have this huge soft spot for any amount of romance in anime, whether it's the main focus or only sprinkled in, although recently it's hard to blur the lines between a good romance and one that just feels like a rearrangement of tropes in a different font. At face value, Blue Box feels like it's just that. A story about an average dude who plays badminton falling for the really talented basketball girl. It's an extremely cliche approach for a romance anime that gets reinvented when the reasons for why he started falling for her is exposed. It wasn't because of some superficial and blaringly fabricated story beat. It's because on a random day, he saw her tirelessly training with tears in her eyes, only later finding out that she missed qualifying for nationals by a hair. Being inspired to work harder is why he started to take an interest in her. There's a part in the anime where he goes up against this senior who's not only much better at badminton than him, but is also someone who is oddly close to Chiatsu. Except after the first half of the match is played, his friend is surprised at how upbeat he is rather than being bothered by the situation, to which Taiki then responds by saying,
千夏先輩を負けた時の言い訳には絶対にしたくないって思うし、千夏先輩のためだけにバドやってるわけじゃないし、そもそも俺バド好きだし。
I like to think that true romance happens when your interest in someone stems from their dreams and aspirations, the things that make them happy now and the things they do for their future selves. Being able to watch a romance where the character's life and emotions aren't dictated by a person is incredibly refreshing in a genre that has started to feel more mechanical and less human. It's why I love the romance in DanDaDan. Momo and Ken's relationship grows stronger through making fun of each other, laughing together, and talking like any of us would if we liked someone. And for Blue Box, it's because the connections are made through genuine curiosity about each other's interests and being inspired to work harder for themselves. It doesn't feel forced, it feels natural. Because it's an anime and a romance story, tropes are just going to be there. That's just how these stories will normally function in order to get that extra kick out of us. Oh my fucking god. This is fucked up!
I know, right?
I feel bad. Hina does not deserve this bullshit. This shit just feels like Snafu's love triangle all over again, and I hate it. I fucking hate it. But For what Blue Box does differently, it was pretty easy for me to ignore those tropes and appreciate the breath of fresh air that it gives us in a genre that's unfortunately become polluted with unoriginal approaches and annoying tropes. As of late, I'm a guy who likes to judge a book by its cover. Under normal circumstances, if you threw this cover at me, I'd look at it, laugh, give you hope that I might watch it one day, and then almost certainly never watch it. Now I say this as I point to the camera like I'm All Might, because this isn't just another segment for a fall anime. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that Dillon is a name I like to throw around here and there. But comedic purposes is only half of the reason for why I use that name. I use that name because this guy is a real character in my life who's British, has the framework of a female orangutan, and like just won't shut the fuck up about Idolmaster. So FYI, he is the one who asked me to check out this anime for the fall season. It's a story about girls who wanted to be magicians, couldn't, and then they talk about how they couldn't be magicians while still trying to be magicians. And that's really fucking it. Saying I disassociated during this anime would be an understatement. I genuinely thought I was watching a fucking Peppa Pig stage play at some points. This was literally the only memorable part of watching the anime.
D1 hater, bro. What?
And that's not even because of the fucking anime. I'll admit the consistent pastel look for the anime was pretty cool, but I was not the fucking target demographic. Dillon is the target demographic. Initially, Look Back was not on my radar, let alone even considered to be a part of this video. I don't even know if it's even considered a fall anime, but it was released globally during the fall season, so that's good enough for me. The only reason I decided to watch it was because this dude I was having a conversation with recommended I check it out. Some random in my server also recommended it beforehand, but I was far from compelled to watch it when he asked. So after seeing where I could watch it in theaters, I got tickets for me and my sister to watch, and for what I expected it to be, it's honestly one of the most beautifully crafted anime films I had ever watched. Now, although me and my sister didn't shed tears over it, the dude next to us was setting a good example of how to cry a river. So let me try to make sense of how I and the random dude crying may have come to different ideas of what makes this anime film beautiful. Because I feel the thoughts of how good this film is can be very dependent on how a person has lived their life, their values, their beliefs, and on the surface, it's a story about two girls who have dedicated most of their life to drawing manga. Below that surface, it's about self-exploration and finding out why people put themselves through literal self-torture in pursuit of perfecting their thing. I don't think you can ever accurately predict, understand, or reflect the reasons for why someone becomes obsessed with something, but if there were any way to do it, it'd have to be done by an artist who is actually an insane person. Tatsuki Fujimoto. Look Back is pretty much an autobiography of Tatsuki Fujimoto. Not a one-to-one, especially the fact that he's personified himself as two grade school girls, but it is probably the closest thing to knowing anything relatively human about this person. The part of him that's arrogant, craving for attention, and takes pride in their craft, and the part that's timid, dependent, and unhappy with their craft. Now, as much as the story is catered to artists, I thought the message was pretty universal to just about anyone who creatively expresses themselves by encapsulating everything a person might go through when discovering their thing. The ego that constantly gets built and torn down, that competitive motivation, the strange rabbit hole you fall down, the details you love and the details you hate, the repetitiveness, the joy of completing something, the lonely process before it, and even the unlikely friends that were made because of it. This anime is funny, it's sad, and it's profound in a way where if you're someone who meticulously works on their craft, you'll most likely find yourself resonating with this anime film or think about a question that was asked. A question that anyone can insert themselves into. The question of, then why do you draw? There's a part where Fujino finds out that the person she has been competing with on a hostile level for 2 whole years actually admires her. What follows this discovery is the rawest animation of pure joy that I have ever seen. Not a cheer or a fist pump, but a shot with 0 cuts of Fujino skipping through the rain in the rawest and most humanly joyful way possible. and subsequently the complete opposite. Look Back is a story about that turbulent path some people go through in hopes of getting better at what they do. Though again, it's really hard to depict, understand, or reflect why someone becomes obsessed with something. So in reality, what I've said so far might have not even made sense to you, since that's how the film spoke to me. Just like how it might have spoken differently to that dude crying next to us at the theater, and just like how it might speak to you differently. Because everything I've said so far, this entire video from beginning to end, was a form of creative expression that was both fun, frustrating, and eye-opening, but the only person who's actually able to fully comprehend that is me. And just like any of you who creatively expresses themselves or consumes forms of creative expressions, the only person that will ever fully comprehend those feelings is you. If you're still here, then maybe you liked the video, maybe you liked me. I don't fucking know, you're still here. But let me explain that this won't be a regular thing for me, forcing myself to watch seasonal animes and making it into a video. I did this for the sole purpose of challenging myself to not vanish from uploading for multiple months. Like, I was on a fucking mission to stick to a strict deadline. And at one point, I was so confident that I could get this video out so quick that I was aiming to upload before Gigak's seasonal anime video. And as you can tell, that dream is of ancient history now. What isn't ancient history is my Patreon, where you can support me through just a single $1, and in exchange you'll be able to join my Patreon Discord server, where I frequently give behind the scene updates. I also want to personally thank Leon, Lava Mob, Sandro, and Tanner for being tier 2 and 3 members on my Patreon. Anyways, no weird one-liners this time, as I'm done with videos for 2024. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Easter, or just a happy day of some sort. I don't fucking know when you're watching this.
Pause.
Yeah.
Pause.
What the fuck? What?
I'm here.
He's here.
Yeah. This video is better now. Yeah, I want to clarify to the recording. This fucking guy, I'm literally out eating dinner, and this guy just says, he texts me first. He says, you need to get here. I don't care if you're eating. He tells me, you texted me this. He said, stop whatever you're doing, get in here. And then he pings, he says we are going to do this in the evening yesterday. And then, oh my God, bro. He tried to say I couldn't join the video because I wasn't here at the start.
Yeah.
I can just
Get
cut
going.
you out.
Get
I
going.
can just cut you out.
No. Put this in.